Coronavirus. Shit is real. Shit is getting real.
Yeah, it's getting real, man. I just want us to go through like the timeline of it, right? And also maybe speaking about like, you know, hindsight really sucks, especially when people are losing lives. But also like, what should we have done? But like at the same time, what's the world after? What does the world look like after coronavirus? You know, some people are saying that we heavy up on hedging on these sort of type of situations, and almost like there's gonna be another wave of pandemics out there. A world that we've lived here for so long as a human race, but like we've yet to really understand. It's things out there. We've yet to discover everything about it. And when something like this hits, it pulls us a step back and also humbles us as a human race to say, there's something that can keep you in your house, though. There's something,
I don't think
have you sort of, completely in a state of, panic as well for some people. But yeah, I think let's just speak about the timeline. I mean, this thing started out. I mean, how was everyone feeling when this thing first started out? And how did you hear about it?
I think people were very, very like
and
slow
I was like enjoying myself in December.
No, man, but I think
anyway, so as I was saying, this thing.
What Bubs means is like more when it sort of hits South Africa. Is that what you mean, Bubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people were slow to react because they didn't understand the sort of the severity of the potential impact that it would have, and I think a lot of I was one of those people. I was like, okay, cool. So we had quite a low number of cases, but I think it's just basically not understanding pathogens and how quickly they can spread.
Yeah.
So, but I think from we have been one of the nations that have actually done well in terms of our response. It could have been better, but relative to a lot of other nations, we can really count ourselves quite lucky.
Lever, you were enjoying December, but when did it hit home, bro?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like
when they took away the bottle.
It's like as Q said. Like we all thought that this was something. I mean, there's been these kind of coronaviruses before, like SARS and stuff. Yeah. We had that scare with listeriosis. I think, remember?
Yeah.
Something similar. So, I mean, I thought it was going to be one of those things where some people will die, but it's not going to bring the world to its knees, but like prove that it is that kind of thing. But like in terms of South Africa's response, I think we have, given the circumstances, we've done really well in terms of like reducing the rate of infection. But I think that if we had acted sooner, we would have been even at a way better place than we were. Because I remember, like in the 2 weeks preceding the lockdown and Cyril announcing the lockdown, a lot of people were actually calling for a closure of borders.
Yeah.
Right? On social media. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a statement that came from the president which said that it will be too early to do that. It's gonna have like negative ramifications for the and when he did act, he did the right thing the right way. But he could have acted sooner. And I've been impressed. I've been impressed with how he's with the response he's had. Obviously, I don't agree with some of the small stuff that like the not letting people drink alcohol in their homes. I don't understand why that one is there. The whole smoking thing, I understand it's a respiratory disease. But here's my thing, right? Is
but
that
this came through. The lobbyists came through.
Well, I'm glad that the lobbyists came through, even if they did, if it was the lobbyists. But I think as a citizen, right? If I know the dangers of smoking and I choose to smoke, I think that's my right. And I don't think that the government should play the role of parent in terms of telling me what's good for my own personal thing, especially when it's not harming anyone else. So I think this lockdown has really kind of made me realize the immaturity of a lot of us in terms of how we view the government. A lot of people, it seems that they are not able to self-regulate to the point where they need a government.
Yes.
And I saw this particularly when people were saying that as soon as lockdown is over, they're going to go to the club or they're going to do this.
Yeah.
Which kind of, in my head, this is a government mandated thing, right? As soon as the government or the authority says it's over, you are not going to use your reasoning to prioritize your safety and say, okay, there's still this thing out there and it may not be safe, so let me stay home. So it kind of let me know, just how people view the government and themselves and the role of a government in society. Yeah, which kind of then leads to these things where the government has to take away cigarettes and alcohol. Yeah. And I know it sounds like I'm preaching right now, but basically what I'm saying is that, I don't think that the government should take away freedoms like people smoking or people drinking, especially if. Yeah.
It's also sort of a time for, I'm speaking about this lockdown period, it's just been a time for us to sort of take this thing serious, and firstly, and then what I think the big scare and the big fear that I have is probably, post, come Friday, what then happens, and it speaks to that level of maturity that we have as a nation, right? And
again, you know what, Bubs? You know what, dude? I don't think after Friday, the lockdown continues. I don't understand why people don't understand this.
Yes, exactly.
Cyril literally went up there and said, hey, listen, we're going to extend this thing indefinitely. But this is, and that's literally, we're going to extend this indefinitely, and this is the framework of decision making we're going to use for, unwinding it.
Yeah.
He didn't commit to any dates. The only date he committed was that we're going to experiment.
That was the right approach.
Yeah. No, it is the right approach.
Yeah.
It is. That's the perfect approach.
A sliding based approach to it. Problem is, and this is the problem that I've always had with government, is the level of transparency, number one, and also number two, the level of data which they get, number one, and how they communicate it. I mean, if you look at some of those reports coming through from, the presidency's social media or whatever, ZA, and those news briefings from, the Minister of Health, it looks like, one of those, chart creator in Excel, which are literally, Y and X, quite linear. But the problem is that we need to be able to really understand the type of data that we should be collecting and how it draws insights and informs our decisions. For me, I need to be knowing, okay, infection rate over this period, recoveries over this period, and different sort of insights.
So I think they have that in-depth. So but you want sort of an in-depth understanding of one of the data and sorry?
So the issue with me could be transparency. It could be there, but it's not necessarily communicated to us effectively. Like, ultimately, you're going to be using this risk-based approach, right? And this risk-based approach is going to vary province to province, right? And the only sort of thing that you really communicate is number of people tested within a specific period, people tested positive, recoveries, and death. I think it should be more than that.
What do you think should be added?
Are you saying that there should be more variables?
Yes, there should be more variables. Otherwise,
well, yes. So that's been actually the concern that a lot of people have had with just corona reporting, like globally. Is that now? I'm not sure if the data isn't there, or they are not able to collect the data.
Me either, right?
But a lot of people are saying that these numbers might be. You might be causing like an alarm by just reporting on certain things without context. So, for instance, if you tell me that like 50 people died from the coronavirus out of 100 people that have been tested, this is just an example. That's going to be very scary because it means that this thing has a death rate of 50%. That's fucking scary.
Yeah,
right? But now, once you start to put more context into the data, like then it kind of gives you a clearer definition of the problem. If you tell them, okay, a lot of these people that died actually had 45 of them had cancer.
Yes.
Like a respiratory cancer, like lung cancer.
Yeah.
Yes. Then it changes the kind of way your perception of the virus, and it also then it changes your strategy also. It informs your strategy in terms of what you should do to combat the virus. So a lot of people have been saying that like we need more data in terms of these people that died. Did they die because of coronavirus, or did they die and they had
sort of illnesses and ailments?
Did they die with coronavirus, or did they die because of coronavirus?
Yes.
Yeah. So there was actually, I watched an interview with David Icke, who's like a known conspiracy theorist. He was also speaking about the exact same thing with regards to the reporting, and it is saying that it's actually intentional, and it's sort of fear mongering to a certain extent, because what you'll find, there was actually, like, I think just yesterday there was a rapper in New York who died, and the headline read, rapper dies after testing for COVID-19, and a lot of the reports will say the exact same thing. X person dies after testing for COVID-19, and never really saying whether they had any underlying symptoms. I think it does create, like you said, leave an alarm, and I think it's twofold. It's a good and a bad thing, because I think some people not taking it seriously enough might take it seriously, but the bad thing about that is we might now do extreme things that are unnecessary for us to avoid this thing without the relevant data. But so David Icke's theory is that there's a whole another thing at play here with regards to the reason why we have this virus, and also a whole different thing now with the vaccines. People are saying that the vaccines are actually, there's going to be microchips in the vaccines used to track people, and post COVID-19 you will not be able to allow certain liberties like travel if you have not been you don't have proof that you've tested and being vaccinated for COVID-19. And if you think about it, it sounds crazy, but if the fear is there, it sounds like a reasonable thing if you want to prevent this thing from happening again. That fact that we need proof that you are safe to travel to an X location because you might pose a threat to the health of wherever you're traveling to. So, but I think we can only see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, from what you were saying is that you were saying that David Icke says that there's a lot of the way it's being reported causes a lot is intentional fear mongering.
Yeah.
Intentional fear mongering, but you're saying that it's necessary in order to get people to take this seriously. Is that what you were saying?
No, I'm not saying it's necessary. No. I'm not saying it's necessary. I'm saying you could view it in two ways. There's a potential.
Do you think that it's necessary to do it like that?
No, I don't think it's necessary.
Oh, okay.
I think if you give people the act data, but here's the thing: it's like a lot of people, we have a large part of the population that doesn't understand these things and won't be able to interpret that data. So if you come with a general blanket statement and say, look, stay inside, or this is the potential threat.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I don't think just because there's a lot of people who are data illiterate, then that means you shouldn't release the data. I mean, that to me, those are two different things.
No.
Yeah. But you also said that so do you think it's bad that because this thing of people being wary of vaccines in general is not necessarily a new thing. Yeah. There's a whole anti-vaxxer movement in the US, right? Which is people that say like vaccines a huge conspiracy between pharmaceutical companies and the government to achieve certain things, and the vaccines themselves are not safe. They cause the various kinds of ailments, including autism. So people shouldn't vaccine, and the government shouldn't force you to vaccine. And I'm more interested in the government shouldn't force you to vaccine part. Now, I am a huge individual individual liberties guy. Don't take away my liberties because you're not my father. But that has to have a limit, right? So long as your liberties don't affect other people in a bad way.
Oh, you wildin'.
And that's where it gets tricky. Yeah?
Oh, you wildin'.
Well, what do you mean?
No, not you per se.
You see the difference between Spain and Portugal, just based on their mandatory vaccines that they prescribe.
No. Okay, no. Let me finish what I'm saying, right? And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of these guys that are anti-vaxxers, they also claim to be libertarians and classical liberals. In fact, a lot of these right-wing people claim to be that. And I agree with them more on the individual liberty side. Don't tell me I can't do drugs. Don't tell me I can't drink this. Fuck you. That's my position to government. Mostly is fuck you, DPI.
Yeah.
I really don't. When I look at my payslip, man. Okay, all right. Don't even get me started there. But what I'm saying is that there is a fine line with not wanting your freedoms to be taken away by an authority like a government. But then there's also, in a society where we all live together and where a weakest link could essentially drop down or kill everyone, which we are witnessing here with coronavirus. Do you guys think that a mandatory vaccine from a government is unethical and something that inherently takes away your freedom as a person? You don't.
I think when it comes to issues of that, right? My stance is ultimately we are all sort of feeling the effects of this pandemic. And at the same time, in the same breath, is that we still have yet to discover what's out there, right? And it's not to say that what we have put in place right now is a control that will safeguard against what's in the future, but the intention is there. And ultimately, it revolves around not just the individual. And I understand that individual freedoms and individual sovereignty is quite important, and it's what our constitution is based upon. But at the same time, a constitution is created for the protections of citizens from other citizens.
I actually don't think that the constitution is based on individual liberties.
Okay, cool. Take my word for it.
It's based on democracy.
Yeah, democracy.
Not individual liberties.
Yeah, freedom of choice in a sense, right?
Not necessarily freedom of choice, but like democracy as a group.
No,
the group. It doesn't. Majority. I don't. Yeah, but it's more.
Back to choice, right? Back to choice is basically with stuff like that. Is that you basically. I understand the concerns of the far right wing saying, listen, don't vaccine, proven studies here and there and there. We all can find a study that proves a particular point. Numbers lie, words lie, men and women lie. But ultimately, back to your point, the democracy part of it, of the majority, ultimately it's all about protecting the majority as well.
Yeah.
As cruel as it may sound, it is about protecting the majority. And
I mean, definitely. I think like if your individual, if your freedom, you exercise it in such a way that it endangers others, then it's not you're not the only stakeholder now in your actions.
Yeah.
So there has to be governance.
Yeah.
Towards that. So while I think that the government shouldn't take away my beer or my cigarette, but I do think that not that they should force people, but people should I like the model that if you don't have a vaccine because we have a chip on you, then you are not going into the shop. You're not. It's fine. You can still not vaccine, but you're just gonna stay at home and not participate in any of the other things that we are participating in this world.
You won't be able to go into Willy's.
So it's you have your choice, but it's got various consequences.
You recently started going to Willy's just because now, but before you know
what? I disagree. Are you also a recent Willy's shopper? Recently so.
You know what, Levi? I disagree with you there. I think.
Sure, man. I like it when people disagree with me. Let's go.
With the vaccine, because they're saying, okay, cool, the vaccine, they don't have enough time to prove that there is no harmful side effects with vaccines. Bill Gates was in an interview, so governments are going to have to decide whether we should still roll it out, even though we don't have enough time. We need another 2 years, let's say, to show that there's no side effects to this vaccine. Now, if you make it mandatory for the vaccine to be implemented before you have that proof that it's 100% safe, I think then I have a problem with that. I think the solution is rather, have you been tested? Because if I don't have it, then
I'm not saying that it should be made mandatory, right? I don't think that in any constitution, with maybe the exception of North Korea, any government can pull that off, a mandatory vaccination where soldiers come to your house and you're gonna take the that's a hard sell. That does not look good in the newspapers. anyway, right?
Mm.
But I do think that you should punish the reluctance to take a vaccine. Now, but also you raise a very good point. Like, if the vaccine has a 95% success rate and it has a 5% chance of killing you, that's just not good enough. And I should have the right to not want to live with those odds.
Yeah.
But now my refusal to take a vaccine means that I endanger the whole system by a factor greater than 5%. Right? So how do you balance this? It's a big ethical question. I don't know. I don't know, but it's like the vaccine is the imperfect vaccine.
Yeah.
At a greater is better than like ceteris paribus, like the status quo, like how we're just performing right now. But the vaccine is not perfect, but it's better than the situation. So do you force people to take the thing that might kill them? But now if you don't and they don't take the vaccine, then they're gonna die anyway, and this thing's gonna go out of control. So it's like it's an ethical conundrum.
Yeah.
I think just to recap on this, I mean, or close it off rather, is the importance of us knowing that our individual choices ultimately at this point in time has the potential to actually be harmful to a majority. And how we choose to really sort of exercise our freedoms of how we take care of ourselves ultimately, do affect the other people. So it's ultimately, I think, just going forward post, even a world after, this virus, it's something that now we've taken a good look at ourselves as a human race to say, listen, how are we doing enough to take care of ourselves and to take care of, what we put on our bodies as well, and how we actually sort of, clean our hands. Our grandmothers have been saying it for years, go wash your hands. Now niggas are shocked that, we gotta wash our hands. Like, this process seems foreign for a lot of people, and it shouldn't. But yeah, guys, it's been a great pod, man. I think
it's been a great pod. When do you guys think that we'll go back to Rockets in Bryanston?
Not this year, I suspect. Yeah, I suspect it's gonna be rough for the entertainment guys.
I don't know how AK. I don't know how AK is surviving.
Yeah. No, it's actually very, like, when I think about the entertainers, it's sad. Think about it, and I see a lot of people like kind of celebrating this, like, your celebrities are gonna be going to collect that unemployment 350. I don't know why people are so cruel. Like,
people are so cruel, dude.
It's
that's
like, as much as these guys are celebrities, but that's also a job, right?
And people don't understand like the knock-on effect these things have. If one sector suffers,
it's gonna
have a knock-on effect on another one.
We're all gonna be less off as a result of this.
Exactly.
But even if we weren't, right? Like, let's say we're not all gonna be less off as a result of this. But what's up with the cruelty? Like,
how do you
yeah, like, how, like, you see another person is suffering, and you're like, your celebrity is now gonna. Because ultimately, I think those guys are gonna really be impacted by this.
Yeah.
Because I see, even in a world that goes kind of back to a normal way, I don't see the events industry and clubs and that way. I don't see that. Even if the government would say it's fine, you can do it, but there's gonna be a lot of reluctance from people to even go there. It's gonna take a long time for for that industry to recover from this.
And ultimately, and I think this is probably something that we need to take a good look at ourselves as people. To say, listen, for a long time, how many times do we hear celebrities say that, voice their opinions and to say, I'm also just a person, right? Especially even before this, in the sort of Twitter wars that they come into contact with people, basically coming for them.
People basically talk shit to celebrities, and then the celebrities reply, and then the people are like, oh, fuck God, you're supposed to be a god. A god doesn't reply like this because you're a celebrity, Mr. God, man. Why do we expect you to reply like a human?
Nah, dude. And now here you are, it's like they themselves already had aligned and identified as themselves as celebrities that are on a higher platform than you, and none of them have. Well, I can't speak for all of them, but like no one ever sort of come out that I know to say, listen, I'm a better human being, I'm a better stature, and that's it. And this,
I stand to be corrected, but I think there might have been a guy better than you.
Maybe.
I think AKA might have actually those exact words.
Yeah, curly head.
But he's AKA.
It's
impossible of his thing.
All right.
So it's important, gents. Wash your hands, sanitize.
Well, to be honest, you don't need to wash your hands now if you're just staying in the same location.
You're disgusting.
No, leave it.
I'm not saying I'm washing my hands. I'm just
somebody might watch
you are not
this
the one.
No. I'm saying somebody might watch this. I'm saying this might not be the right platform because somebody might see this and interpret it very wrong. So just watch.
I don't care how people interpret what I am like explaining. Like if you interpreting your shit, like that's not none of my business. I'm saying, Pops. Okay,
West Side.
To close this, that if you are at home and you remain there, washing your hands is in general.
I'm not gonna let you get this one off. I'm not letting you get this one off, bro.
But like, I'm not saying like you should wash your hands like incessantly when you're outside, when you're at your job. But at home, you're gonna wash it, and then you're gonna go back to the things that you were touching again, which is you contaminating them within minutes. So it's kind of pointless because there are no foreign agents coming all the time. You don't have to wash your hands while you're at home. But I'm not a doctor, so this is not medical advice.
Yeah, I think it's good that you said that. All right, guys. Shoot the Messenger podcast out.
Shoot the mess.
Hey, I gotta close it off with the song.
Oh yes.
And it's closing.
What song gonna close off with what?
Juicy Slide.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna give you Juicy Slide.
No, don't do that. Don't do that, Bob. Don't do that. Don't do that bullshit. Can you play a real song? Don't play a commercial.
I got you. We're gonna play someone who's not gonna sue us because of the rights, right? So
you know what I hate about Juicy Slide? If you went to Ogilvy and said, hey, make me a song / commercial where the commercial for the song is in the song, they would come up with that bullshit.
True. They totally come up with that. Some African.
African? This nigga said African.
Stay safe, y'all. You know who sampled this? It's the vibes. Take care of your loved ones. All right. This has been Shoot the Messenger Podcast. Yeah. Do you